At a time when police departments across the country are struggling to fill open positions, there is a community of retired police officers right here in Charlotte who tell Queen City News that the department is not addressing a key issue: mental health.
Our chief political correspondent Emma Withrow is digging into the numbers and the stories of some of the retired officers who want change.
Police officers put their lives on the line every single day, but sometimes it's those same officers who need assistance. Many medically retired CMPD officers say they're not getting the help they need when they're in the department, and even more so when they get out. We would like to warn you, you may find some of the details disturbing in tonight's special report, The Broken Blue.
The day we met, he was starting his career the next day.
Ann Stepp knew what she was getting into when she met her husband, John. And John knew he was getting into a dangerous career field.
My entire life, it's what I wanted to do from the time I could remember, was be a police officer.
That dream came true in December of 1999 when John was sworn in as a police officer in McDowell County, North Carolina. In 2008, he transferred to the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department.
I was a cop during 9/11, and the outpouring support that we got from the community, everyone loved us and, would buy us coffee and give us hugs and stuff, and that changed a lot in the last couple of years.
What started as John's dream career slowly evolved into a nightmare for both him and Ann.
I would say the definite turning point for him came after his big shooting.
John was involved in a nearly 10-minute shootout in Charlotte's Steel Creek neighborhood in 2016.
Shots fired! Over shots fired! All unit 1033. 13, I have him yet.
Who shot him? Who are you shot? And I'm thinking, what's going on? And so then I just sort of had to pull the brakes up and say, are you shot? And he said, I don't know.
I'm bleeding. I don't know if I've been shot.
John wasn't shot, but his partner was.
I need medic. I have been shot.
He survived. However, the suspect was shot and killed.
Officer down. We got a suspect shot.
John's life and demeanor were forever changed after that. His wife of 22 years saw changes right away.
But he just began to shy away from more and more that involved being around small and definitely large groups. That was not going to happen.
2 days after the deadly shootout, John returned to work. Ann, concerned it wasn't enough time for him to properly recover.
I was like, I think you might need to talk to somebody, and why isn't the department requiring you to go to counseling? Where's the help?
John eventually visited CMPD's psychologist to try to work through some of the issues he was dealing with.
And the psychologist, they said I wasn't fit for duty due to my PTSD. And at that point, it was, that they're not going to let you work. So I had to medical retire.
Despite John being out of the physical line of fire after retirement, he was quickly sent into the financial line of fire when his PTSD treatment bills started piling up.
I lost insurance when I retired, couldn't afford it. I had to get a secondary supplement insurance, and they won't cover anything with mental health. So to this day, I'm weekly seeing a counselor, and I'm paying out of pocket.
John says CMPD doesn't offer affordable medical benefits for retired officers who joined the department after 2009. Since he joined in 2008, he was grandfathered into the benefits, but the cost would have been astronomical.
It would have been $1,000 a month or something for me to keep the retirement insurance.
John opted for private insurance, but the cost was still high. His PTSD treatments also weren't covered. As for how CMPD handles officers who think they might be struggling with PTSD, the department has outlined a plan of action. John just doesn't think it's a priority.
A lot of these officers are asking for help and showing warning signs and asking for help, and the department isn't doing anything for him.
John left CMPD and his dream job in 2021. Even though he turned in his uniform, he continues to take calls for help. John's now an unofficial liaison for officers dealing with mental health issues, recommending references for treatment and psychological help.
They might not be at the point where they need to medically retire, but saying, hey, who are you talking to? Not only from CMPD, from these old ages. Like, I need somebody that's going to understand, a psychologist or a counselor who could understand what I'm going through.
Former CMPD psychologist Dr. David Englert worked with officers from 2016 to 2021. He worked for Mecklenburg County, but was embedded into the police department.
At first, when I went to talk with them, what they really thought they wanted was a provider, a mental health provider to come and talk to folks. And I said, well, we can do that, but we can train people to do that, right?
Englert proposed a new strategy for maintaining the mental health of officers, which focused on preparing them for traumatic events rather than just treating them after the incidents happen.
How do we make them more resilient? How do we make them healthier, emotionally, spiritually, physically, that kind of thing. Certainly people would come in and see me, and I talked to several people one-on-one, but really the goal was to make them as emotionally resilient before the event happened.
Englert's strategy seemed to work. In 2019, CMPD was recognized as one of the best officer wellness programs in the country. Despite the positive recognition, though, Englert was replaced and let go in his 6th year on the job.
CMPD, through the city, wanted to have their own position, and so not be a county position.
CMPD is currently down around 350 officers, many of whom have retired or quit within the last couple of years. How big of a focus would you say CMPD puts on mental health for their officers?
Yeah, I'm not talking about CMPD in particular like that. It puts me in a bad spot.
Englert thinks the stigma surrounding mental health issues is still very real among law enforcement agencies, though it has improved over time.
In the police psychology community, there's certainly appears to be a lot more emphasis on officer wellness, officer mental health. And so it's just really trying to get past some of that old stigma of, suck it up, be a man, don't talk about your problems.
For Anne, her goals go beyond just breaking the stigma. It's preventing other wives and husbands from watching their spouse lose a piece of themselves to their job.
These are not broken bones. They are broken hearts and minds and souls of these men and women.
So throughout the last few months, I've spoken with 6 former CMPD officers, all of whom struggle with PTSD and needed to medically retire. Each one of them said they think the department needs to focus more on officers' mental health and removing the stigma surrounding seeking help. I also spoke with CMPD officials and asked about officer recruitment, retention, and what exactly is being done to maintain officer wellness and mental health.
The Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department is down hundreds of officers, about 15% of their overall force. Many have resigned or retired in the last few years.
And our chief political correspondent, Emma Withrow, sat down with retired officers to ask them the question, why did you leave?
The overarching theme among retired officers I spoke with is not feeling valued by their department when they work there and feeling abandoned when they leave. Now, here's part 2 of tonight's special, The Broken Blue. Again, you may want to know that some of these details are a bit disturbing.
Certainly a priority for us as a department, as executive leadership within the department, to make sure that every single person, is in the right headspace and that they're good to go.
Major Bradford Koch says employee wellness is in Chief Johnny Jennings' core 4, his top core values implemented in the department. Koch says CMPD puts those words into action with a variety of programs and protocols.
Every officer meets with a sergeant on a daily basis at their roll call, and the sergeant's responsibility really is to make sure that they are having that one-on-one connection with the officers and recognizing the need for them to talk to someone. We have a psychologist on staff for CMPD. We also have employee wellness. We also have peer support, which are officers and sergeants who have received additional training on how to talk and be there for that officer.
Aaron Partridge, a former CMPD officer, experienced peer support firsthand when he started struggling with mental health issues.
That was a very unpleasant experience for me. Who was assigned to me, it made me worse.
Why?
I think I told him I was having problems with my shooting and dealing with all the riots over the years, and that person's response was, I've killed 3 people, it don't bother me. So that didn't help me at all.
In April of 2021, Aaron was diagnosed with major depressive disorder and PTSD.
I sat in my closet for 8 hours, a walk-in closet, with my gun in my hand, debating about whether to shoot myself or not.
After 22 years of wearing the uniform, Aaron retired from CMPD on May 1st, 2022. He describes being a police officer as more of an identity rather than just a job. But Aaron's new identity shifted over the years, after responding to countless calls for help and witnessing the worst of humanity.
I get there and the lady, she comes outside and she shoves the baby towards me, and I said, what? I couldn't see because it was covered in a blanket. I said, what's wrong? She goes, she's dead. And it was a 6-month-old little girl had been raped by the baby's dad. And
no medication or treatment will ever make Aaron forget that encounter. but he's trying everything possible to reduce the symptoms of his PTSD and depression. Yet the cost of treating it continues to pile up, with health insurance cut off by the city right after retirement.
If you can't get health care for me, then at least cover therapy and mental health meds. You help contribute to what I have in my diagnosis, but yet you refuse to acknowledge you have any part in it or to help at all. That's the big thing with me. I mean, I get money's tight, budgets. I understand all that. I've worked for government my whole life. I know how it works. But you don't abandon the people who work for you the longest.
Any change in current policy would have to come from the city, not the police department. I reached out to the city manager, Marcus Jones, on October 19th requesting an interview. No response from Jones, but I did get an email back from the city's media relations manager, Lawrence Corley III. Corley said all interview requests need to go through him, so for the next 4 months, I emailed Corley's office on October 19th, November 22nd, November 29th, December 7th, and January 4th. No one, not Corley nor anyone from his office, got back to me. I even asked city communications staff in person at city council meetings if Jones had any availability, but never got a definite answer. The city of Charlotte only offers health insurance to officers who started working for the department before 2009 and served for at least 10 years. For officers hired after 2009, the city gives them $10 a week for their health reimbursement plan. With private insurance, Aaron says he's still spending hundreds of dollars a month on therapy and medications.
North Carolina doesn't recognize workers' comp cases for mental health. And so we're one of the few places that there's no help.
According to public records we obtained, since 2002, 104 officers have needed to retire because of a disability. It wasn't specified if retirement was due to physical or mental injury, but Prince Blue, a retired CMPD officer who was also diagnosed with PTSD, thinks the department's response to officers struggling mentally is just strictly a numbers game.
If you got 10 officers that say, hey, I'm not feeling good, I'm not feeling right, then you take them off the street and then the police department's already short. So I get it that they're trying to protect their bottom line, they're trying to keep as many boots on the street, but if those boots aren't reliable, then what is it really doing you good in the long run?
Officer Christina Frazita, who's worked for CMPD for 19 years, thinks the department provides all the resources necessary to get officers the help they need.
When I first started, there was a little bit of stigma. You didn't really talk about mental health. And I think today it's so normalized, like the major was talking about, that if you're struggling, you know where help is. You know how to get help. You know the services, the resources.
The resources are there, but officers are not required to utilize most of them.
They'll tell you, we got an open door policy, but you go and talk to somebody, you're now somebody that's cuckoo and nobody wants to work with you anymore.
Kayvon Hazrati retired in 2009 after being shot in the head while trying to serve a warrant. He recovered, but was left with a permanent brain injury. Hazrati's lawyers spent years in mediation with city attorneys to get compensation from the city for the injuries he sustained. He, like many retired officers, still struggles with PTSD.
John and I went to a restaurant last week, and we looked around ourselves and looked around where we were, and we both had the same thought. If these people in here knew what CMPD officers go through on a daily basis, but they're in the dark. They don't know. They don't know we're 350 officers short right now.
Recruitment's been a challenge for CMPD these last few years, but Major Bradford Koch says this problem is not unique to their department. He attributes the lack of officers to the implementation of 30-year retirements nationwide in 1993.
The individuals that gave 30 years to the city of Charlotte and to our community, and certainly are enjoying the fruits of their retirement, but we also had the summer of 2020, which was certainly a challenge for us.
John Stepp was one of the many officers who chose to leave CMPD in the fall of 2020.
There was no one from no administration, no command staff from the police department who checked on me, who said, thanks for your service, good luck with the retirement, nothing. No communication whatsoever.
John was perplexed at the lack of communication from the department after retirement.
I thought we're this big family that we'd take care of each other, and your struggle is my struggle, and I just felt, which made my PTSD worse, was just feeling abandoned and alone. I've given my entire life, to this organization and to this job, community, and then I'm just kind of cast aside and forgotten.
According to a study done by the Rudderman Family Foundation, police officers are more likely to die from suicide than in the line of duty.
And ending on such a startling statistic there. I mean, you are really shining the spotlight on such a big topic with mental health inside a department. Hopefully people are watching this story and feeling some type of, you know, hey, that's me. But the question I have for you is, do other cities offer health insurance after retirement?
Yeah, so during my research, I did look at a bunch of different cities comparable in size to Charlotte, and I found Fort Worth, which is pretty similar in size, does offer full benefits for officers who retire, and it's the same benefits that they would offer for current employees. So there are other cities that do it. It's not the majority from what I found out, but there are some similar in size to Charlotte that are able to do that for their officers.
Yeah, I know here in Charlotte there is some outside resources that first responders have the opportunity to do so for mental health services, but where do these officers go from here?
At this point, I mean, with or without the city's support, these officers are going to support each other behind the scenes, as they have been doing. And at this point, I'm going to be reaching out to lawmakers going forward and basically sending them the story and saying, what can we do on a state level to see if there's anything that can be done budget-wise to help these officers who are retired and drowning in these medical costs from their treatment for PTSD and these different depression issues. So hopefully this sheds some light on this really devastating issue that's going on.
Well, Emma Withrow, I want to thank you so much for your reporting. Such a big topic. A lot to be able to discuss with this. I'm sure everybody can find the story online at qcnews.com. All right, Emma, thanks for that.